This next panel, Monetary Revolution, will be of particular interest given the emphasis on cryptocurrencies we will see at this conference. And then you don't need me to usher you to refreshments. So after this panel, please enjoy some networking and light refreshments. So please, panelists, Bruce, everyone, come up on stage.
While they're getting the microphones here, I want to introduce everybody. We have the man here that coined the term the monetary revolution. He's a Bitcoin pioneer, a big man in the space, the founder of the New York Bitcoin Center, Nick Spanos. Please give him a round of applause. We have my good friend, a very important man here in the UAE. You probably know him. If you don't, you know the name, Dr. Marwan Alzarouni. Please give him a nice warm round of applause. He is the founder of the Bitcoin Center here. He really decides a lot of the regulations that go in. Very important guy. He will join us just at the beginning, and then he has to go to a meeting. We're running a little behind, so I apologize for that. But thank you so much for joining us. We have a good friend, the president of Liberland. I always say that, you know, hey man, some of us started our own blockchain, but this guy, he started his own country. President Vit. Jedlicka, I think is how you say it, really the last name. An amazing guy and really doing some amazing things. You can take that microphone right there. My good friend who you've met now before, His Highness Sandor Habsburg, kind of goes without introduction. My good friend as well, the CEO of Ave, Matthew Dixon, doing a great job here. They're incorporated in the DMCC. And the man behind the ratings, the AI platform ratings, Professor Gregoriou from Brighton. So please give everybody a nice warm round of applause. So I'm gonna do it a little differently than everybody else. We're not here to pitch anybody. We're here to talk about the monetary revolution that has been happening across the world for the last 10 years. And I talk about it on stage often. And again, I did mention that my good friend, Dr. Marwan Alzarouni, who I'm very honored, made the trip here to come at my request. So we're going to start with you. I know that the UAE and Dubai in general, specifically, has really played a key role in this monetary revolution and the evolution of how it's progressed over the last decade. So if you could give some thoughts on Dubai's role and the UAE's role and how that is helping businesses and everything here in the UAE.
Thank you, Bruce. First of all, I would like to thank this man on my left here, Nick Spanos. He played a pivotal role not only in establishing the Dubai Blockchain Center, but also in supporting us in getting the first license ever in DMCC. He actually helped me a lot in creating the first ever crypto business in the UAE, which was called OTC Supply, DMCC, which was the first licensed crypto handling business here in the country, and opened the doors and the floodgates for all these kinds of different jurisdictions. Now we have more than one flavor of license and activity for crypto in the UAE, and we're attracting all the big exchanges to come and be based out of the UAE, not only for their local presence, but also as the headquarters for expanding internationally. The legal framework, the guidelines, and all this, we've done it in a very systematic way, moving from trying them out to using things like sandboxes and labs to actually vet every use case that is applicable to the UAE and really help the economy push forward. And I think this gradual approach and phased approach and using sandboxes and regulation labs is the right way forward in an environment that welcomes innovation and also provides a safe environment for people to do business in, whether on the investment side or protecting also individuals in this ecosystem.
Well, it's really brought so many people here to the UAE. Of course, we're all here. They've kept your doors open. It's been a really amazing thing. All of us have been touched by the COVID crisis. There is no doubt about that. How is the influx of companies coming here? Is it a lot? What are you seeing?
Post-COVID, a lot of us here sitting on stage have golden visas already. A lot of us here and the audience as well have received golden visas. This is an indicator that we are actually, including Ritossa, this is a testament that we are, a fertile ground for innovators, for who want these guys and the thought leaders and the investors to come here and be based out of here and push their operations out of Dubai. Where people are hesitant, most of the world, and very careful, we are more using this opportunity to push forward and create an ecosystem and environment where people can do business.
Well, it's absolutely fantastic. It's something we're all very thankful for. Also for your time. I'm very honored that you came and joined us. I know you have another meeting. Would you like to give any thoughts, any other thoughts, maybe a website or anything like this?
Thank you very much. We have a lot of events coming up in October. This next week, which is starting from the 8th, we have Blockchain Week, we have World Blockchain Summit, we have WOW 3, we have the Innovation Summit, and also we have the Future Blockchain Summit. And that's to name a few. Much more ecosystem events and meetups happening as well. So make sure you stay tuned and check out the different events as well. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Marwan Alzarouni, please give him a hand. Okay, and with that, I have to go to the man who coined the phrase, and I didn't know the history of you and Dr. Marwan putting this all together here. Nick Spanos. Nick. So we've been at it for a decade now. What do you think of the last few years, and where do you think we're going?
Well, I want to thank Dr. Marwan. When I came here and met Dr. Marwan, I saw how forward-thinking he was and how good command he had over technology, because he was a technologist, and he navigated his way through the red tape and built an incredible blockchain center over here. And the rest is history. I can't, it wasn't me, it was him. But what was the question? Oh, 10 years? Yeah, well, for me it was a lot longer than 10 years. I started in 1991 with having a problem with the Federal Reserve, the way the Federal Reserve worked, and pushed for different, we had End the Fed was a movement, supported candidates, Dr. Ron Paul, Dr. Rand Paul, for different offices, presidential runs in the United States, and have pushed anyone that would just wanted to audit the Federal Reserve only. So it's evolved into this monetary revolution because we finally got a tool to be able to, I gave a speech probably a decade ago, probably a decade ago, that I said, well, Bitcoin is going to allow people to at least think about what money is, because most people don't know what money is. So I said, just the exercise of thinking about what Bitcoin is going to lead you to try to think about what real money really is, and where you're storing your wealth and your family's wealth over time. So I think we're in an incredible place over here, where yes, the floodgates have opened, and many other jurisdictions are not friendly to us. And as every day goes by, I see more and more people from our industry land in Dubai for a little while and not leave. And there was a train. You better get on the train. It's about to go all aboard. So I think it's an incredible opportunity. COVID-19 has accelerated cryptocurrencies and the science of it, because of all the printing. 30% of the money that's ever been printed was printed this year, and I'm not sure if that's a good store of value. It's pretty, you don't need a degree in economics to figure that out. So as in the Old Testament, the plagues freed the Hebrew slaves from Egypt, so is COVID freeing the monetary, I'm not going to say the word slave, but the monetary servants now. So thank you very much, Bruce.
It's an amazing insight, and Nick Spanos, throughout the world is an icon in the space. I said yesterday and the day before that all my heroes are here in Dubai, so and I have them on stage with me here too. So very honored. Thank you, Sir Anthony, for the opportunity to put everything together here. It's a wonderful group that you've curated. We really appreciate it. So, President Vitt, you have started a country. I know I saw it on CNN about 6 years ago, and then I was here in Dubai, as a matter of fact, about 5 years ago. My friend says, "Hey man, President Vitt's here." President who? He said, "President Vitt." Who's President Vitt? He's from Lieberland. I said, "Wait a minute, Lieberland really exists." And you have put together, and of course since then our relationship has grown. We've worked quite a few times together. And your country specifically has grabbed onto this monetary revolution. So if you could talk a little bit about how that has shaped the formation of your micronation.
It's fair enough. Thank you very much also for being here with Bruce and Mr. Ritossa. I'm grateful for being able to talk to such a general audience. I think there are two things to point out about Bitcoin. First thing is that once we started the country, we implemented Bitcoin as a national reserve currency from the beginning because we were, I would say, forward thinking, and I think it was a strategic decision that Bitcoin was 230 when Bitcoin started. Now it's a little bit higher, and so we were a little bit ahead of El Salvador in that move, but we didn't make it a national obligatory currency. Anybody that works in the legal environment can use any currency they want. It's actually deeply built in our constitution. And the second thing is, when we started the country some 6 years ago, we expected that maybe 20,000 people will apply for citizenship, and we will slowly grow the country. Actually, we had 20,000 people apply for the first day, right? When we announced the creation of the country, and second day was 100,000, and by the end of the week, we had almost 4 million people. Now we're close to 700,000 people that applied for citizenship of Netherlands, and it kind of reminds you of I would say, of the fact that Dubai was also created from a desert a couple of decades ago into this beautiful place, and we see there is a huge need for building a more free jurisdictions. Why we are crowded, in places like Singapore, like Hong Kong, when there is so much space on this planet. That was exactly the reasoning behind what we did. We saw there is a need to build up more free jurisdictions. I'm also happy that Lebanon is not just about the 7 square kilometers between Croatia and Serbia that we claimed and we are still developing. And 2 days ago, we received enormously fabulous design for urban design by Zaha Architects, which we are going to present in 2 weeks in Chicago. By now, actually, already have the drafts here, but it will be an amazing virtual space where investors and citizens will be able to come together and see what we are actually planning to build. So it's just one of the, I would say, 6 exciting things that are happening right now, a part of our governance completely running on blockchain. I think we're also 6 years ahead from other national governments to fully adopt the power of blockchain for transparent running of the country itself.
Well, there's no doubt about it. You're at the forefront, and you're meeting all of these people. You're putting together these things. The designs look absolutely fantastic. You have a free trade zone, if I understand that correctly. I know when we met years ago, I said, listen, I'm going to help you out however I possibly can, and that is what I've done. So the same thing, I feel the same way with the UAE. They've opened their doors to us. They've provided a great regulatory environment for us to build our businesses. And I'm going to help them out as much as I can, and I'll be here a lot over the next 6 months, reporting and showcasing the pavilion and showcasing the kingdom, because I believe that that's what I should do, and that's how I'll pay back. So President Vitt, I know you guys have you have a yearly event, and you have your own token. Just real quickly, maybe talk about that. What it's built on.
Right now, what we did, we took the best elements of Swiss democracy, a little bit of American Republican elements to our constitution. We put it all on a very, very good system of blockchain governance. We took a little bit from Polkadot of a code to start with, but last year and a half we were actually developing this, and this is all created on top of our token, which is called the merit. So I think we're not just the country where taxes are voluntary, and I think that's pretty exciting, but we are also a country where you get something in return. You become basically the part become a shareholder of the country itself, which I think is a revolutionary concept. But when you combine it with the elements of direct democracy and with a kind of a Senate oversight, I think we're able to keep the freedom in Liberland for a couple of centuries to go, and that we actually made a smart system how to make sure that the government doesn't produce too many laws and it cannot actually raise obligatory taxes, which I think are the key elements for the success of a newly created country in this century.
Well, that is great. I fingers crossed, and of course we'll work to make that happen. I can tell you, as a United States citizen, 200 years is about how, and then it starts really getting infested. I know Nick would agree with that. So 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, we were together at the Habsburg Palace, as it was, with our good friend, His Highness Sandor Habsburg. I received an award, a merit award from the president here. Very honored to that. So thank you very much. So, Sandor, you have been as well in this revolution, working with it. You've seen a lot of different things. How do you see the monetary revolution playing out in Austria and throughout Europe?
Again, good morning to everybody, and thank you to everybody who is listening to us here. Thank you for your perseverance. Thank you to everybody who has spoken. We have mentioned the word technologist. I'm really bad. I'm a real technologist. I started with IT in 1980, and I followed the whole process from the .com right up to blockchain. Blockchain is a technology. It is a fantastic technology. I think it is that technology which is not going to leave a single stone unturned in our industry. It is just a better way of doing things as we have done things before. It's more efficient, it's easier to work with, it's safer, it's secure. That having been said, it is the best foundation to running a financial system because it's basically the most effective bookkeeping system. It's a ledger system. It is a bookkeeping system. So any discussion of is it good, is it bad, it's not, for my, it's completely superfluous. It is the way to go. I don't know how to say it. When you're convinced of something, it's easy. So if we look at we were talking about financial revolution, we're saying that Bitcoin or Bitcoin type currency is our future. I'd like to take one step back and just remind us all, money, finance, it's all digital. It is just the different type of software that is running behind it and the logic and the idea and the principles behind it. So when we talk about a revolution, we're actually talking about a revolution of the way we think and the way we have to do things with it. Okay? Cutting the middleman out, making it secure, giving the power back to the people. That is actually the revolution we're talking about. And if you refer to Austria or Central Europe, let's say the so-called developed world, I think it desperately needs this to become efficient, to reduce the bureaucracy, to reduce all the things that actually cost a lot of money and actually waste a lot of money and waste a lot of resources. So the blockchain combined with smart contracts can take care of almost all administrative processes that you can imagine. It's really easy. So you can imagine that we can use a unique system to cover all activities, all documentation of properties, car ownership, property ownership, stock exchanges, fiscal administration, your corporate administration, the shares in your company, and if there's all this running on the same technology, then funnily enough, suddenly you can exchange all of these assets without requiring a single middleman. You will do it directly. You will be truly free to decide how to deal with your assets without anybody ever that's telling you how to do it. And I think this is the true revolution. And this is probably what scares all the persons and people working in centralized systems which are trying to control and correct our lives. And because I've come here and I've been invited here, I should say this also. One thing that we are really missing in the financial world today is a really free and objective rating process, so that we actually know that asset that we wish to acquire or trade with, what is its value, what is its track record, what is its history. And with that.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the segue. I would also like to mention that Dr. Marwan Alzarouni, who was with us earlier, is the co-founder of Ebay.io. So Sandor is our ambassador, and Professor, or Matthew, actually whoever would want to take this. The unbiased ratings of crypto, I believe and I see, plays into this whole revolution that we have, where it's not influenced by the government, it's not influenced by regulations so much. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll let Professor speak about more technical details.
Okay, I think they heard you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hope that's better, thank you. So, Professor, I'll leave to speak about the more technical details. But when you talked about revolution, I heard you speak in Monaco about revolution. You talked about a peaceful revolution, and that's what this is. So if you think about the problems that we've had historically, always has been due to centralization of power. And what we're talking about is decentralization of power. So when you think about blockchain, why did it come into existence? We saw Bitcoin come into existence shortly after, or virtually at the end of the previous financial crisis. And the previous financial crisis was a problem of centralization. So there was basically a failure of ratings, which caused a misallocation of assets. And so there's a serious problem with ratings. So we at eBay.io have basically developed the world's first unbiased rating system. We're not just rating cryptocurrencies, but everything that's rateable. And this is all about the revolution. Because what it does, it creates a level playing field for everybody. It empowers everybody. So isolated communities, wherever they are in the world, now have access to the blockchain. They become bankable. It gives them economic power and the real ability to change the world. So what we're doing is just facilitating that. The regulatory landscape has changed everywhere, and there's no need for regulation in some ways, but there's new types of regulation necessary. And one of the most important things about regulation, I believe, that empowers regulation is education and understanding. So to allow people, to empower people to make the right investment choices, they need to have the right guidance, and that's what we're about at eBay.io.
Fantastic, and it would go to you, Professor Andres. How, and you're working on this AI, and you're working on the machine learning portion of it, how do you see that playing in? And I know your research actually helped with the Bank of England during the 2008 financial crisis. So how do you see this unbiased platform playing the revolution?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So, as Matthew quite rightly said, and people before, there is a need for a rating system. There is no doubt about that. Now, in terms of how the ratings have been developed, they've been developed on academic research, not just from my own research or my own papers, but also from Nobel Prize winners over the last 50 or 60 years that have applied this kind of technology to conventional finance. But what we've done is we've taken that and we've made it specific towards cryptocurrencies by adding other factors and eliminating others. But more importantly, we have also eliminated all the bias that is present in traditional ratings for bonds, for example, and other conventional assets. And we have done that using all the latest artificial intelligence tools and machine learning, and we are able to provide an unbiased rating system built upon academic research, and also that's revolutionary towards this market and is free from any human bias and people that have vested interest in ratings, essentially. This is work that is carrying on all the time. We're not stopping, we're continually evolving. And the next step in the process is we're actually developing our own artificial intelligence tools that will be unique to this space and unique to Rewind, that have not been seen before, and we will use that to get a better fit of the data to try and get an even better unbiased rating system. So that's the motivation behind it. In terms of my own research and my work at the Bank of England, what a lot of that research has gone into the EVA ratings platform, as well as other people's research.
Fantastic. I know we have about 5 minutes here, so I just want to give everybody a closing thought. If you want to start, Professor.
My closing thought is that, as the panel quite rightly said, this is the future, this is now, this is what is going on with the blockchain. So what we need to do is we need to develop a very strong research foundation, an unbiased rating system to inform investors of what they should be invested in and why.
Yeah, EVA.io is a change that's necessary because it empowers people everywhere. It's not just applicable to financial assets. Our technology is basically spans across so many industries, healthcare, energy. It can be used to advantage in so many different spaces. So I think what we're doing is very important for the world.
Hello? I'd like to invite everybody to join this revolution. This revolution is not just a technological revolution, it's part of it, but it's a revolution in the change of the way we are thinking. COVID has taught us to stop and think and reanalyze of how we're doing things. And we should work for a free world, for a simpler world, for a world that respects each other, nature, the environment, the animals, everything we have here. And if we focus on values rather than mass production, we will achieve all the ends that everybody's talking about. And I'm very, very convinced that people here, decision makers that are here, we have a huge responsibility to adhere to these principles. If we continue to do things as we have in the past, just looking at quick gains, we're not going to achieve the goals that we need to achieve for a beautiful world to live in. So join me to take up this responsibility. Let's talk about what each one of us can do, how each one of us can contribute. We're all just a little piece in this puzzle. But if you get all the pieces together, we will have a beautiful picture, a beautiful world. Thank you.
That's a tough act to follow. Well, I believe, especially here in Family Office gathering, that we have a generational responsibility at this moment. There's never been a moment in time where, in the past 10,000 years, that we can actually grab hold of and sequester the centralization. Because centralization has pounded humanity into the ground. I think and I believe that this moment is very crucial to all the generations to come. And I believe that each and every one of us has an obligation. It's not even an opportunity, there's an obligation right now to incorporate the open, permissionless blockchain. Because if we don't free ourselves with the open, permissionless blockchain, you know, we're going to be enslaved and imprisoned by the permission closed blockchain. So it's our obligation to humanity, because it felt that, you know, this is happening now in our time. So when I realized this, I abandoned everything I was doing, and all I did was I went everywhere and spoke to as many people as possible, and tried to find leaders that can push their country and their environment in the direction of decentralization, because we have the technology now to be able to free the individual, and that's not going to last long. The opportunity is just it's a mirage right now, and it's up to us to embrace this technology, the true technology of it, and push it into an inevitable, incredible future, or else we're not going to be doing too well, because similar technologies that might, put us in a place where, dystopian place where we should not and will never want to be, nor our children or grandchildren or great-great-grandchildren should be. I mean, we're the product of all the generations that came before us, so they're all watching, and it fell on you. So you only have one life to live. What are you going to do? Thank you.
President.
It's obvious that Bitcoin has revolutionized the financial system. It is now the 6th or 7th biggest currency in the world. It's definitely going to be, according to my opinion, the biggest currency sooner or later. And we will see a huge revolution in the way we govern our companies. They will also, I think, sooner or later become a decentralized autonomous organizations. And we will see decentralization in social media and many other places. And I think right after, we will see a huge movement into decentralized autonomous governments. So I think Liberland is just a couple of years ahead. We're getting ready for that time, and I will be very happy if you join our nation and help us to move things forward in that direction.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody. Please give a round of applause.